Hello, welcome to LawUnplugged.
Hi.
With us today we have Dibya Prakash Behera sir, a 2020 pass out of NUSRL Ranchi, and he will be joining Nishith Desai Associates, Mumbai from next week. So, we are very blessed to have you, sir. How are you, sir?
I'm good, sir. I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, we are also very good, sir. We are blessed, as I said,
Great,
to have
great.
you here. Sir, first of all, I really want to ask you, how did your fire journey at NUSRL Ranchi go, considering that it was a new NLU, very limited opportunities. I mean, comparatively more opportunities as, relatively of a new NLU. But how did you make it to, interning in big law firms, and, how did you find your interest in funds law?
Okay. See, if you ask me how would I describe my 5 year career at NUSRL, NUSRL, I would say it's sort of a parabolic curve. You must have seen how a parabolic curve, it's a U-shaped curve. That's how my career trajectory has been. Like, I was never up for CLAT. I belong to a family of engineers. So I was already had this thinking I need to do engineering because this is somewhere I might get guidance from my elder brother and stuff. So I was actually off for it. But I eventually just sat for CLAT just because I think that I got a thing for GK and logical reasoning and stuff. But fortunately, at that point of time, 2015 is actually termed as the toughest thing the CLAT paper was set. So that's how that helped me actually. That helped me create a level playing field between everyone. Everyone was already had a prior background of coaching, and everyone had no coaching at that time. So that's how it clicked for me. Fortunate enough to get into this and get to the NLU. So as you already said, NLU now in NUSRL Ranchi was a very new NLU at that point of time. When I joined in 2015, I think only the first batch had graduated recently, very recently. Only one batch would have graduated. So obviously we had our own share of lows and highs, own share of difficulties too. So in my first year, I believe I was not very focused. Like obviously, my first year was very amateur and did not have that kind of law background to say so that I can get mentoring or actually know about stuff how I'm going to plan out or pay about my career from here on. So I used to first 2 years, first 2 semesters actually. I used to focus. I used to read a bit about like see. I think there was this time Super Lawyer, the website. That website used to post interviews of law students plus lawyers who've been securing PPOs and all those things. Say exactly similar thing that you're doing right now. That was something in the legal blog format. So that's how I came up to know that this thing called PPO coming up. This is a PPO is a very big thing in a law school, and that's how you need to plan out and all those things. So that's I also read in all these kinds of things that the things that you need at most, like grades are obviously an important factor. The second factor that comes into play will be your extracurricular activity. Like say whether you're good on modes, good and not just participating in modes, whether you're getting some notable achievements in those kind of modes that you've participated. Secondly, then kind of publications. Publications seems to have a very high weightage for the law firms. As far as I read in all the kinds of the interviews that I went through at that point of time. So I thought, okay, let's start with this publication things because obviously the mode thing can be done when I'll be in my second or third semester. So exactly how I started, like even that is also a kind of luck, I will say. In my second semester, I will just share a story here. Like we had a project topic coming from the contract law faculty. So he asked all of us to make a project on this topic that carries a weightage of 20 marks. 10 marks for the content and 10 marks for the citation format, which we had no idea of. So everyone failed at this citation thing. They like carried out, they secured like 2, 3, 4, 5 out of 10. So the all data depends on content. There was another clause added, like if you get your content published in some kind of reputed journal or blog, then you will be getting a full marks. That's the kind of incentive that I got from got to actually go for this publication thing. So I thought, oh, let's try this out. Let's try this out. Let's send it out to some blogs. If it gets published, then I might get 10 marks and might make a better case for myself. So that's how I ended up sending that particular article to Manupatra. I think that's the first one that I eventually ended up publishing with them. And bang on, the faculty was very much willing to give me 10 marks on that, 10 out of 10. So that's how kind of drove me further on these things. I had to go around this publication thing. Then I went also in my third semester also, as I already said, I had a prior knowledge that you also need to do moods and stuff. So moods. I started my mooting career like in third semester. The third semester I took on, I went on participating in the GLC 23rd MC Chagla mood. So at that kind of in that very semester, I also took another mode, second Manipal rank, I think probably. Yeah. So that created a lot of pressure for me because both these modes are conducted within a period of 1 week gap within between them, and plus we had a midterms in between those 1 week period actually. So that kind of situation was very tough for me. I ended up actually leaving my flight for the one mode Manipal. So that's another story even. So that's I have my share of flaws in there, but see, like I went for the two modes, then I couldn't make it through beyond the prelims, those two modes. See, I will say that's how the U curve is right now coming on, right? The first one, the class 2015, and right now it's at the lowest position. I don't move, faring miserably out the modes. So then I thought, let's give it another try. So I went for another mode. I'm at University Lucknow with my friends. And then when in that also it crossed out of the prelims, another setback for me. Then I thought that this might not be my cup of tea. Let's leave it. Let's just focus on the publication thing. I at the same time I continued to publish my papers in different kind of journals and different blogs. So then at the third semester, that's how a turning point came in my life. Like I changed my role. I was going as a speaker, and the very thing that I have a tendency to speak very fast. That was coming as a setback for me. So I just analyzed my strength and my weakness, and then just changed my role. My role, like right now, I went in the mood as a researcher in 8th School of Law, Christ University National Moot Court Competition. Just by the tier moot competition as per the Mooting Premier League that was conducted by this Legally India. So it went for that mode, and eventually, unfortunately enough, we ended up being the winners and also securing the best memorial. So that's how that is exactly the lowest point. From the lowest point that again drove me. Let's again focus on the smooth thing. This might help me out. So that's again you not losing hope and not giving up on that. So again, I just continued to do mooting. I went for HNNCC, 10th HNLU, the National Moot Court Competition, the proportion focused on international law, public international law. So even in that mode, although we performed well, that was kind of a mixed result for us. We just ended up being receiving the best memorial and ended up being a quarter finalist. So after that, again we thought of like going for another mode. Say probably this time the fact that already done with public international law mode. So let's target something that has the same kind of proportion. So that's how we ended up doing Manfred Labs. Manfred Labs took a lot of amount of time for us. Like it devoted like around 6 months of our time for their mode to prepare the memos and stuff. I remember we all the members of the team used to sit back in our hostels even during the Dasara holidays when no one was there. Cut down on our holy holidays, cut down on our vacations, stay together, work on the memos. Eventually, during that, yeah, the memo got selected, fortunately enough. So we got qualified for the Asia Pacific rounds of the Manfred Lab. That was held at that time. That year it was held in India. Prior to that, it was organized in China, probably. Yeah. So that's how we entered but again, we crossed out of the prelims, I think, yeah. But again, it was a pretty good experience. Like you got to argue against a panel of international judges, mixed of international and national judges. We also have teams coming from other law schools across Asia. So that was a kind of a valuable experience for me. So that's how my mooting career ended. And post that, I think by that time, I was already in my fourth year. Yeah, I was already in my fourth year, completed my fourth year by the time I was done with Manfred. So at this point of time, I needed to focus on my getting a job, focus on my PPO thing. So this is where I'll come to my internship thing. You already asked me about how do I manage to secure such big law firm internships even belonging to a new law school, right?
Right.
So here is fixed. I think I was like at a very similar person as you guys or as everyone else while in the first semester and second semester. Like first semester there's this rule key you need to do internship first internship in an NGO, second in your, say, a district court, third in a research-based organization or something, or fourth in litigation firms, and then you go on to corporate if you're actually interested for corporate or not. So that's exactly how the conventional set of practice that I also added to. At first, I went for an NGO. Obviously, that's NGO, not a big deal. I went for this CILJ, the first internship. The second internship that I went for was, I was always interested in this thing, research wala thing. I had this thing, a flair for writing stuff and writing research papers. So I thought of giving it a try to go for this Center for Disability Studies. It was actually held by Professor Amita Dhanda, right now a dean in NUSRL'. So he is a very knowledgeable faculty over there. So it was under her supervision that the center conducts an internship program. I got to know about it and then I applied. So I went over there, 1 month of internship over there. Third internship at that point of time, I went to do in a litigation chamber. At that point of time, I was already had this kind of thinking. I'm going for corporate law, but to make the decision a very conclusive one, I thought of let's give it a try. Let's see what litigation might hold. Obviously, they were thinking litigation is very interesting. Litigation actually is the area where you actually get to play your role better as a lawyer, not as a transactional department. So I thought, let's give it a try. Let's see whether it fits my calling or not. So, but again, that a particular internship was not that good enough for me. Actually, I did not enjoy court proceedings. I did not went or writing. I did not enjoyed making notes of these things. So the court thing was not for me. So that's where I got this thing in mind. Corporate is gonna be my only option right now. That's what I sold my focus, all my efforts and all my attention towards that. So in my fourth semester, I started with a small law firm. The very fact that you are already in your second year. Second year does not, you are like, it's too good to go for law firms. Too good to go for NGOs or research organizations and too early to go for law firms. It's a very tricky stage. You don't get enough opportunities. You need to track down onto what kind of opportunities are exactly possible for you, might be applicable for you. So that's how I ended up doing in a small law firm, at Spectrum Legal. Also coming over a startup law firm in Bangalore, so that it will give me an experience of how a law firm actually works, no matter how small or how big it is. So that's how that was a pretty good internship in terms of experience, also in terms of work or quality. So that's how I thought this might be my thing. So eventually after this was already my fourth semester. So my fifth semester, I think I went for, I had also this thing for tax. I was interested in this tax because tax at that point of time, tax seemed to be one kind of area where you get to play a lot of language interpretation skills that explain. Like obviously two people can have two different opinions on the same word, and even a comma in a particular provision can make a lot of difference when it comes to taxes and statutes. So that was very interesting for me. So I thought, let's give it a try. So in my fifth semester, that's the reason I went to take up for that 8th SLC mode. The proposition was based on the constitutionality of the GST and the difference between the indirect and direct tax, and how center and the state has fields separated on these things. So that's how my taxes and knowledge also further drove my interest in tax. In my fifth semester, I was I went for a indirect tax law firm, Hari Global Advisor Services. So I was fixed at that point. Let's see how tax actually works out in favor of me or not. At the same time, I had to just keep in mind whether I should go for corporate or whether I should go for tax. So obviously, I think it's very imperative for everyone, for every law student, that they get to conclusively decide on the career choices much before they enter into their third year. Because once you enter your third year, you hardly get any time to actually focus on internships that might give you a PPO or might land you job opportunity. You hardly get around 4 to 5 opportunities. And you are not in that good position, especially when you belong from a new law school, not in that good position to have that kind of opportunity. You don't have that kind of campus placement going on. You don't have that kind of acceptance coming from peer law firms. When you're in a third year, while a third year from NUJS and also might get an opportunity, by the third year from NLU or Ranchi or say from another NLU door, they won't be able to get that opportunity because you don't have that kind of alumni base. So this is something I realized very early in my law school career. That is how I worked on it. At that point of my fifth semester, I went for 2 internships simultaneously. One in a corporate law firm and another in the indirect tax law firm that I talked about. Just to get an idea whether I should go for corporate or whether I should go for tax. What actually really interests me much. So that's how I went for two interns. At that point of time, people are like very surprised. Ki, yaar, why this guy is doing two internships at this point of time? This doesn't make sense. Leaving classes and going for another internship. Then I had this in mind. I need to make a decision very quick. I can't just wait for my third year to get over and then I'll be making a decision. Then I might be in a soup. I might be in a trouble. I won't be getting that kind of opportunity. So that was something back in my mind. So eventually after that kind of that internship, I got to think this tax. Tax might be calling. So let's just focus it another way. So in my sixth semester, I went for another internship. Again, this time I think from fifth semester, I went and doing two internships every time simultaneously. So this time I went for KT Advisors. It was a firm by a former equity partner, the Sadhula Machal Mangaldas, Mr. Kalpataru Tripathi. He had floated his own firm by then. I got to know this about by Legal India, so I thought let's apply it here. Let's give it a shot. Might be the fact that you'll be going a small law firm. I thought that obviously you'll be given a better kind of work, better kind of environment. So let's see how it works out. So that's how I ended up for the corporate law firm over there. And also at the same time, I also applied for the fact that I was already interested in tax. I used to research about the tax law firms which are the best in India. So Nishith Desai Associates, the name is enough when it comes to tax. It is on tax practice. So that is and plus that firm had a clear set of guidelines on its website, very transparent set of guidelines. That what actually need to have in your CV that to get an internship. Mootings, publications, everything. They had a particular determined set of objective criteria laid down. So that's why I thought okay, this is something. Plus, you might have also seen this NDA published a lot of articles, hotlines, research papers, and stuff. So they gave a lot of weightage to these things, publications. So that's why I thought okay, let's focus on this publication thing. This might work in favor when I come down, say, my fourth year, fifth year. Okay, so while in my sixth semester, I applied for my internship in India in the fifth semester. Fortunately, I got it too. So I was selected a tax team over there too. So I already said you how my tax interest has coming up with a tax internship in place and also a tax move. And that's how I developed it further with my internship in India. In the tax team, I interned in India, Delhi, the first time. So that's probably after that, that was my sixth semester intern over there. Then in my seventh semester, I interned in JSA. Desai Associates Mumbai, and also Phoenix Legal. Yeah. In the meanwhile, I also interned in Sadhula Machal Mangaldas Kolkata office the next semester break. At the same time, also I did two internships, Sadhula Machal Mangaldas and Phoenix side by side. So within Phoenix, I was also allocated the tax team. That's because something that I already loved it. So I thought that it might be beneficial for me. So after talking about here, how did I manage to secure these internships? Obviously, it's a different ball game altogether. I'll see, after my fifth semester, when I already had an internship, say in Mr. Desai Associates, that somehow gave my profile a build up. Plus, by that time, I had already around 10 publications in different blogs and journals. I had this thing in mind that I will just focus at every other journal. Like, I won't be publishing like 2 or 3 papers in a single journal. I'll be just publishing. I'll just make sure that every journal there'll be like as much variety of journals as much as my publications. I'm not focusing in publishing 5 papers in a single journal. No, I'm not going to do that. That will obviously dilute out the quality factor. So by the time I already had 10 publications in 8 different portals, 8 different platforms. So that also helped me a bit. Plus, by the time I already had gone for 5 modes, 3 participations in 2 citations, best memorial twice, and also a bestie. That also helped my CV to get noticed in this law firms when I applied for. Again, while applying for this law firms, obviously you might be facing a lot of difficulties. Like say, a lot of law firms have this kind of thing. You need to get a reference, you need to get a chat from within, one who can recommend you to get an internship. This is only possible when you know people from there. So when you actually have otherwise when you have a background. The very fact that I had no background, I was not coming from a law family. I'm a first generation lawyer. So I had this thing very early in my realization. Yeah, if I need to do that, I just need to do on my merit. The only thing that I go about on my merit is will be only focusing on publications and modes. Not say you might have go for 1 mode or 2 publications and might still get a chance. But the fact that I don't have that kind of backing, I need to go beyond. I need to stretch myself as extent as possible. So that's how I did I coding for 5 months and 10 publications. That also helped me in getting an internship in Phoenix. Post that, I went for internship in Desai Associates Mumbai. It was in my like around 8th semester, yeah. Then in the meanwhile, I also secured a callback from Mr. Desai Associates. This is my performance. It's already been intimated by my mentor that you might be getting a callback. Just wait and watch. That's what I did for the whole year, waiting and watching. So when I'll be getting the callback, we see that kind of anxious moment. So after getting a callback for the internship in October, I went for the Mr. Desai Mumbai office, where I selected the funds team. And here it comes to the point how I got interested in the funds team. So see, I will say there is also a story behind. I also talked about like I already said like I was interested in tax. I was actually going for the tax team, but I was allocated the funds team eventually. While working for the funds team, I got to think that this might be my calling. Let's say I might see myself doing this kind of work. The work primarily involved a lot of advice on the sponsors, how you need to structure your investment agreement, how you need to pull in investments from your investors. This is something like kind of a banking financing in a small setup. That's how it works. So as I say, also the very fact that you can get to deal a lot of strategic advisory and also a lot of the business side of law. That's why I already had that kind of interest in that. So that also helped me getting an interest in this. So that's how I ended up doing funds. Sponsors are obviously not in my back in the mind of my as a primary practice area. I eventually went up doing it. I love the work. The team, the culture, and everything. So I thought this might be a best fit for me. That's why I ended up getting a PP from there. And also talking about antitrust law right now, I have already the interest in antitrust law. I was first introduced to antitrust law in my internship there in India. The first internship in Delhi. I was actually involved by the associate over there who asked me to work on this Form 1 filing for a merger approval. While working on that form of filing completely, I just got to know how interesting this law is actually. It involves a lot of market economics in place, it's a lot of law and supply demand factors and how you actually, lot of strategies to how you actually get away from the vision of CCI without getting noticed and still doing other practices which might be anti-competitive nature but not be getting noticed because of having some checks in place which might not be noticed by CCI because you obviously know how CCI functions in a traditional method. Also, that's how I got an interest in competition law. So I followed up with that with writing publications. Every time I had an interest, I started to gain it more, not just with internships, but also with publications. I believe that to know more about any law, you just need to delve into as much as you can. Just can't really limit yourself to focusing on internships because internships might be getting a variety of work. That's not possible for anyone to like say 30 days you're going to work in a single area of law. That's not possible. But again, you can obviously publish for a single area of law as much as you can. So that's what I did. I used to follow this contemporary things, some CCI decisions, CCI cases coming up, also the tax decisions coming up. Everything that somehow interested me, I started writing a paper on this, let's get it published. That's how publishing thing also built up my profile and also helped me get a better idea of what kind of law I should try involving myself with. And trust me here, publication, as much as it is perceived as being a very tough task, being a rocket science kind of thing, it's not at a rocket kind of science. I think research can be done, obviously, the very fact that a law students, research is something that is inherent. You gradually develop yourself doing the research part. The main part comes when you're presenting yourself in a paper. The presentation part is very important. The language that you use, the vocabulary that you use, the structuring, the framing, and all these things. This is where actually the game lies in. The whole game is here. So, and also you don't need to trust me here. I have already published around 25 articles in as much as around 18 different platforms. That's considered 6 international platforms: King's, Cambridge, Berkeley, Concurrences, European Competition Law Review, and stuff. But at the same time, you won't believe that I haven't sat down on a paper that this is something that I'm going to write for this journal specifically. This was never in my mind. All the papers that you see, most of them, majority, like 80% of them, are actually my assignments, internship assignments. The things that I worked in while doing my internship research task, my project submission, internal project submissions, I used to convert them into papers. Say I submit a project of 3,000 words in my company law. What I'll do that I'll just divide into 2 different articles of 1,500 words each. for two different blocks. Say I'll just make it in such a format that I'll give it an introduction, give it a conclusion, make it a very separately isolated different article, and another 15 minutes another different article. Improvise on it, adds a contemporary aspect to it, and then just submit it. It might get published. That's how I just utilize that every effort of mine is not going to be wasted. Every effort of mine in my intensive assignments also is not going to be wasted. That's how I worked in. Like say I'll say this thing. If you see my all my international publications, frankly speaking over here, none of them actually has been done with an intention to get actually focused or get actually published over here. All 6 of them actually have been done while I was either in internship or either I was preparing for something else. Say I was working with my junior of mine for a competition law competition. Unfortunately, I might say fortunately, that did not work in our favor. But that 5,500 word that research paper that I did, we converted into 4 different papers, 4 different articles, adding more contemporary aspects, more getting a more improvisation on this stuff. And then eventually, that 4 of them went into published by Internships or Concurrences Anti-trust. These are the 4 papers that got it published. So this is how I have made sure that every effort of mine is not going to be wasted. It's going to translate it somehow. That's where I said strategy part comes into play. Just working hard and just putting in effort might not do that kind of benefit for you if you're not strategizing it in a good manner, if you're not streamlining it in a better manner. I think this is something that everyone needs to know, that you can strategize these things too. You don't need to really do hard work or just do hard work on this stuff. You need to strategize a bit further on these things. What kind of blog that you need to maintain, what kind of blog you need to publish with, what kind of article what kind of subject area that might get the blog is working on. These are things that you have an idea of and then start publishing. So that's how I went on with publishing more. My interest in antitrust, funds, tax, I already said. And now I went to do management, secure my internships in law school. So this is something, the moot point being that as long as you have made it on your CV, that's the only thing out. If you have not got enough backing, you're not coming from a law background, the only thing that can help you out is your merit on your CV, the credential that you show in your CV. Involve yourself as much as possible in research things, as much as possible, do publications as much as possible, to the best extent possible. At the same time, just ensure that you're not diluting the quality. Just not going for any XYZ publication blog and publishing. Say you're don't go for these paid journals or things. Don't go for these blogs that are very not very renowned, not very reputed in the market. Just see, that's how you need to have this thing in mind. Plus moods. Moods are obviously moods. That's something I acknowledge is very fact. That mood is not something that everyone can do. Like publications, you don't have to invest a lot of amount of finance or say something. I have seen people finding it very difficult to go for moods if you don't have that kind of backing from the college because of the financial burden that it might also entail. You get a lot of things involved, expenses and all those things. So in that case, that's not the end for you. Just for the fact that you're not going for moods just because of some external factors, don't just let that depress you. Just don't let that take into your head or something. Just focus all your attention towards the publication thing. You can build a profile on that too. So that's how you just not giving up and just working as much as you can with just better strategy in place. That will eventually help you get a PPO from any law firm. I think that won't be a barrier. Your college won't be a barrier. Your background won't be a barrier. So say nothing won't be a barrier. No external factor then can just be a barrier for you.
Yes, sir. Very well said. I mean, I can't say I have not heard a more detailed answer than this. So basically, what I understand from there is that never to play the victim game. I know there may be something against you, something with you, but capitalize on things which are on your side, right? So that is what I understand. Exactly. And now, sir.
Exactly, you just need to focus on your strengths and weaknesses and just work on it. Like obviously, you can't be in that ignorance thinking you don't have any kind of weaknesses. You can't be that. Analyze yourself, focus on your strengths, focus on your weaknesses, see what kind of things that you need to develop, what things are already good at. That's how you need to strategize. Strategy is a very important thing. Strategy, until unless you strategize your things, you won't be getting benefits.
Yeah, I guess yes, that brings us to the second question now that you have mentioned for us that you have put in each and every effort of yours that you put in internships to get the work that you did there published, and also that publishing papers in several international and national journals. It has helped you a lot. And from there we come to your blog that you have now come up with. Also, before that, like this question is a two-legged question. It's a two-pronged question. The first leg being, you tell us about your grades in law school, like how what is the minimum threshold that the law firms look at while assessing someone from their CGPA, and also tell us about the TCCLPR, the competition and corporate law review that you have come up with. Yeah, so tell us about it. Tell us everything.
Just don't get away this fact that the very fact that I have like undermined the importance of the grades, that doesn't mean that I have come in with bad grades or something. It's not like that actually. It's like, see, I'll say like in my 10th semester, in my five of my 10 semesters, I've been in the top 10 of my batch. So on an overall basis, I'm in the top 20 of my batch with a grade of like around, I'll be probably closing with 7.6 or 7.7 out of say 10. The highest in our college actually goes like around 8.3 or 8.4, not beyond that. So it's still, as much as you're above 7.5, it makes sense that you have decent grade. Plus the fact that I have got my publications and moods, that makes up for my bit of the lessing factor that not to give me top for not being a ranker. Also, this fact, I'll just bust a myth over here. I won't say anything here. I won't be taking names or something else. See, this is very private to the me being a member of the recruitment coordination committee in my college. While the firm that eventually went to do campus session from our college, a lot of top rankers, a lot of people who had paid grades, the highest grade, the top 3 or the top 4 people, they applied for the law firm jobs. But the very fact that they had, but they only focus on the grades thing. The very fact that they did not have any kind of voting experience or say publication experience, that could not help them much. I mean, the firm did not even shortlist them in the first round. At the same time, another person with a decent grade, but with a different amount of intensive experience coming with a better background of publications and moods, he eventually got selected. He eventually got shortlisted. So this is exactly what people really need to get this in mind. Just focusing on the grades won't be a factor for you. Grades plus moods plus publications plus whatever stuff you're doing in MUNs or debuts, whatever that is. This is because of the fact law firms actually look for someone who can do stuff, because the theoretical one and practical world run very differently. When you start entering law firms in your third or fourth year, you guys should be realizing that all the things that are being studied, like this competition law, company law in your law schools, are just pure waste of time. You don't do these jobs. You don't write answers. You just have to do a lot of practical tasks. You need to research, and how the research skills will be going to be developed, not by just reading textbooks and just getting some grades. That will somehow going to be developed if you go for the moods and go for the publication things, right? At the same time, you involve a lot of drafting tasks also. Just imagine you are writing answers from your book, whatever the answers, that won't develop your drafting skills. At the same time, if you go for the research things and go for as much as moods, that will develop your drafting skills. So the skills development that it takes us in the moods and the publication things is actually what the law firms actually look for, apart from grades. Grades is obviously grades determine what kind of serious personality that you are, what kind of seriousness you have for the studies, the kind of dedication and sincerity. That's only limited to that factor. Other things, other practical things are going to be just by your extracurricular activities. Now coming to your second question, like what eventually led me to come up with my blog, the Competition and Commercial Law Review. So see, as I already said that I had this pair for writing and researching stuff. So by my third year, I had around 10 articles published. So I had this thing back in my mind, let's start a blog or something, let's start a corporate blog, because of the very fact that back in my college, we have 5 honors programs: corporate law honors, international law honors, constitutional law honors, criminal law honors, and IPR honors. Every honors program, every honors has their own center, own society, except for the corporate law honors, which is actually very much should be like very relevant. There's no corporate culture as such. If you find a low tier LLMs, you don't find such a corporate culture. Everyone is actually going for the LLM, judiciaries, or the government job. Don't find that kind of much of a corporate culture as such. So this is something that I thought, let's start a blog or something. But at that point of time, I did not have that kind of people to work with. As I think Amaya said, I think Raja said probably that you needed a team to come up with this law unplugged initiative. So obviously, I was who needed a team that could come up with this initiative, have my like-minded people who could actually propel towards this particular vision and these things. So that in my third year, fourth year, I kept that in my back burner in my mind. That was not my uh, primary focus on that. So at that point of time, an opportunity came up in the form of being an editor at IRCCO, the Indian Review of Corporate and Commercial Laws. At that point of time, I just applied for that position. The fact that I already had, I think around my seventh semester, I got through. So my whole experience of being there for more than 1.5 years. So that's how I learned the tricks. I always wanted to see how it comes from, how it feels like to be in the other spectrum. See, writing articles and stuff, and how it seems to be an editor. How do you actually review the things? Because the review thing is very important from the perspective, because while you be in a law firm now, obviously in your junior years, you might be doing stuff and your senior will be reviewing the stuff. But the moment that you'll be going as far in a hierarchy of the seniority, you will be supposed to review the documents and your drafts and everything else of your juniors. That's something that is very relevant. The proofreading that you do, the sentence structuring, how you review the things. That comes very handy when you go for a law firm. Especially when, say, if I'm starting my law firm job from like next week, say if some intern gives me some work, if I need to focus on how the kind of proofreading, what kind of improvement can be done, I need to get this thinking. That's a job editor does. That exactly the job an editor does. And that is just in terms of articles. This is in terms of transaction practice. Nothing much of a difference over here. So that's how I get my experience as an editor at ISSL also helped me. Like now, I think probably I know the tricks of the business. So I think probably I can right now have my own blog, start with my own vision or something. At the same time, I got an opportunity also sprang up in the case that my junior also started it. The junior I wrote a competition law paper with. So he was on the same page. We started, let's start a blog. So I was like, fine, to do the work, I'll get on board. And I don't have an issue over here. I'll get on all the guiding, funding, my experience and all those stuff. I'll just put into it and just make sure that it goes to be as much success as we are aiming it to be. So that's how it came up, this TCCLR idea, and then eventually just launched last week. Not last week actually, just 2 days back, 13th of July, the Competition and Commercial Law Review. The particular basis, the very fact I already said that I already had a liking for competition law. So we thought, let's just make it a competition focus. At the same time, just let's not make it competition limited to competition, also to branch out other laws. If you see the areas of expertise that you are actually looking for the blogs, you will see that there's also a subject area called investment funds. You won't find it any other blogs. Investment funds is never a subject area, dedicated subject area for other blogs. So very fact, I already said, as you already noticed that investor funds is not a very commonly known practice area. It's a very niche transaction practice area. Not much law firms practice in this area. So this is something that I thought, let's just make people aware about this investment funds and the stuff. So that's another part of a vision. So main probably vision will be right now my experience with publishing with international portals over here. There's a kind of a difference when you publish with national portals and international portals. I always have this thing in my mind that publishing with international portals might be difficult, and it's obviously difficult. The very first article that I got published in the international portals was King's Student Law Review, Commercial and Financial Law blog. That article took around 6 months to publish, and they have now like 5 stages of extensive review process. Extensive review I mean they will be just like every word of yours will be just flagged down by them. There will be comments on your every word that you need to just rephrase this word. Just the jargon is not fitting well. Just to make it a bit simpler. There's a lot of editing on that stuff. Every time you edit and submit the draft, they're just coming back with more edits, more changes on there. So extensive review process that they have. That's something like picked up my interest. Like, this is something that you can do. Yeah, this is not something I often see while you go for the national portals. So I thought, let's bring that kind of standard to practice the law students for India. Obviously, law students in India are not very much aware of the international portals. So I thought that let's just translate that to in an Indian environment. Let's see how it turns out to be. That was my first vision, to inculcate a very high quality research in the field of competition law and commercial law. Second thing that we are already working for is having an interview series. Just exactly the way you are doing, you are doing in the form of a video interviews, podcast, and other different forms. So we had
Okay.
just planned to do this thing just like how a super lawyer did, uh,
Mm,
posting interviews of people who have gone in foreign law schools, or say people
right.
getting a PPO in the fourth year, fifth year, people with exemplary law achievements who can actually help us budding lawyers of first year or second year students to get an idea. Just the way I got an idea from this stuff, I wanted to let down that to pass on to my future generations and all those future juniors.
Mm,
So that's the second reason. The third vision right now, which is already walking stage and not revealed it further, we are proposing to have a newsletter or quarterly newsletter where we'll be like publishing articles, we'll be compiling articles of all the law students. Some of the best articles that are already published on our website, we'll be compiling them for a specific subject area. I'll be releasing a quarterly list. That's how it comes up with newsletter thing. Fourth will be like on a long-term plan. We might expand it to say providing some industry-based curriculum courses. Obviously, that's a very long-term plan and long-term vision. I'm not looking for it in presently. Presently, just focusing on the quality of the articles that we're going to publish. Primary focus on making the content out of post. So for some time, say for around 6 months to 1 year, we'll be just focusing on building the brand of the blog. Post that, we might be branching out to different practice areas, different fields. So that's exactly the business model of TCCLR will be.
wonderful. Wonderful.
So moving on, so like first of all, congratulating you for getting a PPO from Nishith Desai Associates, and very much congratulating you for this. Tell us one thing. Tell us one thing that generally is needed while you do an internship program that actually enhances your skills, and that makes it more employable for a person to be working in a law firm. And what was there was another standardizing question just to add to it. And what was the X factor in what did the X factor did they find in you for selecting you for it?
Okay, fine. So before I delve into those aspects, I would like to rather just shed some light on how you actually go about this internship thing. The very first point being apply for the internship. I have seen like people apply for internships with a CV. Just need to have a proper CV and proper cover letter. If cover letter saying XYZ about what kind of things that you've done, one might not do good enough for you. Just focus on the specific practice that you might be interested to work with. Say for example, you're interested to work in the tax team of a law firm. So just say introduce yourself in the first paragraph. Second paragraph, just focus on what kind of work that you've done as far as the tax industry is concerned, modes, publications, and just say that you are interested about just the dates and all those things. That's how you need to draft a cover letter. The drafting the cover letter is a very primary, foremost thing that you need to focus on. Second thing being the drafting of the CV. While you draft your CV, there's one thing that you need to do, focus very predominantly. Like you just can't say you have researched on provisions of Companies Act. That will be very wide in nature. That will invite trouble for you. Like they'll be asking you what kind of provisions. You might be saying, I worked on amalgamation provisions. So they'll be asking you section 232 to 40. Could you put in like you'll be like, you might not have that kind of idea. While you might have worked on a single specific transaction of that particular thing, the very fact that they are drafted in such a manner that will give them a scope to ask you questions that you might not be prepared for. So it makes sense for you to make it as specific as possible. Say that I have researched on this thing. Research on the transaction concerning the amalgamation of a banking company. That's banking and financing company. That's how, okay, very limited perspective. That works. Secondly, that's how you need to focus on drafting your CVs and cover letters. I think you already have an idea of how this cover letters and CVs need to be drafted. I won't be going deep into that. Now let's coming into the internship part. How I ended up getting a PPO from Nishith Desai Associates. Like I already said, while at my fifth semester, I had this thing. Nishith Desai Associates has this objective criteria of taking interns. They have a very transparent system that what they actually look for in the interns. That's where the moment I started building my profile accordingly. Because Nishith Desai Associates has been like, to be honest, my dream firm. It's like I have been always fascinated by the kind of vision the firm that has, the kind of inclusive culture they boast of, the kind of work culture, the kind of work environment they provide for. This is something that I was very fascinated while I was in my fifth semester. That's probably drove me further to go for an internship over here. So while interning in my first internship in the India Delhi office. So my primary focus at that point I was amateur. I had no idea kind of thing what exactly I need to get an X factor over there. I just ensure that I need to put in as much effort as possible. Just make it everything as exhaustive as possible. Say suppose you are allotted actually a mentor over there. The mentor takes care of everything. You can go to them for every kind of career discussion. They have an open door policy that you can even go for partners, you can go for senior members, everything. They have this policy. They won't treat you as just as an intern. They'll be treating you just as a fellow member. That's how the culture has been. This is something that has impressed me from there. So as far as the work is concerned, I will say that when the research, obviously you'll be getting research assignments plus different ancillary tasks. So while you're getting research assignment, the first thing that you need to do is make sure what exactly the client is looking for, what exactly the associate is asking for. So if the associate is asking you to draft, there might be very vague proposals. Sometimes you might be getting very big proposals. You might not have an idea what you need to actually do. You might be just pulling out all kinds of comparisons and stuff and making a 7-page or 8-page research draft. That might not be very beneficial. While out of that, only 1 or 2 pages might be beneficial for the associate, other will be just waste of your effort and time, and also for the associate. So it makes sense for you to either ask for the associate what exactly they're looking for, limit down and ask a research question, narrow it down, and just focus on the things that will be researching. So are the basic research things. If they say ask you to prepare a case note or to say provide them case laws, make sure that you make them as convenient for them. The more you can make it convenient for them, the better it is for you to get noticed, the better the chances for you to getting recommended for a PPO or for a callback. In this case, say if you are like just submitting a draft, just compiling everything, not just say you're sending a case law, hyperlink the case laws and sending it to by khud padh lo. This won't work. This won't work for the associate. If you do that, say the specific paragraphs from those judgments, you compile it in a particular Word document, write the case citation over there, write the case name over there, write also the judgment, whether it was in favor of the petitioner or in favor of the respondent, also the exact obiter dicta, the ratio of the judgment in, let's say, around 8 to 10 words. Compile that like 1, 2, 3, 4. You send around 5 case laws in chronological order of their priority and chronological order of their importance for the client. So that's, and send it to the associate. The associate will be very impressed. Like, see, the associate will be like, this is very much ready reckoner. I won't have to go or won't have to see deep into those things. There's nothing enough to do for him on that part. It's like very convenient for him. The more you save the time for your members, the better the chances they have for you to recommend. See, suppose you obviously the fact that you allow me not to focus, not to work on it again, I'll be very much impressed with it. So that's how it works. Basic thing. That is somehow the interns, I think especially the students don't seem to focus a lot upon. They seem to like compile everything and just send it out. And at the same time, just need to ensure that they have a very logical format, very clarity. The draft that you are sharing with your associates must be very clear, so render much clarity. The thought must be like predict a good analysis on those parameters. Exactly the way you kind draft your research articles and stuff, exactly the kind of work that you do will be getting noticed. Plus, there are some kinds of things that might make you notice over there when it comes to like say some extra factors. You also need to get well equipped with MS Word. MS Word is like a very handy tool. You need to be well equipped with that. The track changes thing. See, frankly speaking, by the time I was in the 6th semester, I had no idea how do you actually redline a document. I had no idea. Markup a document. That is something that I learned about my period of internship. So they're very much willing to let you learn about those things. So it's better for you to get those things handy much before. Plus, you had also focus on what kind of drafts while you work for something, you might be asking a sample of that document. So when you see the sample of a draft, you might see those forms have a kind of a header thing. Say Nishith Desai Associates privileged and confidential draft for discussion purposes only. You can just on the live top right hand header. So if this is the sample, just ensure that when you share your drafts, you put those headers by yourself. When you put those headers by yourself, this makes it seem like a bit of a more formal and more professional approach. That gives a more professional outlook of every day. Small things, but they make a lot of a difference. They just make a good impression in the mind, create a good impression in the minds of the associates that they will work for. Secondly, As far as the soft skills are concerned, like say, what kind of the X factor they're talking about, I think nothing different from how working as hard as you can. Just be dedicated to what you're doing for. I will say rather at the same time there will be a lot of negativity coming in. You see from your co-interns or from your peers, yeah, this firm is not going to offer PPO. This firm has a history of not offering PPO to people from low tier NLUs or something else. Just don't focus on that. Or rather, just don't focus on that. Just don't divert your attention. Just focus on the things that you're doing for. And third thing, I'll say that never focus on getting a PPO. PPO should never be a short-term goal. PPO make it a long-term goal. You're aiming for PPO, but never go for PPO. So you shouldn't sound like so desperate that you're going for PPO. You're not being helpful to your peers over there, having a very negative kind of attitude over there while working, being unhealthy competition that you might say. Don't ever venture into those stuff. Don't ever. So the thing is that the people just focus on how good the work that you can draft, how good the things that you can churn out, how convenient you can make it for the associate. The better you do this on these parameters, the better your chances of getting a PPO. PPO comes at the latter stage. The first thing will be like how to actually get a recommended for a callback. Callback is itself a very hard task to get. So once you get done that, even at the same time, just because you're getting a callback, just don't be complacent enough to right this time I got a callback. Might make it easy for myself. I won't have to put that kind of effort. No, don't go into that thing. You are actually supposed to put a lot more effort than you have to put in a first internship, callback internship. You need to put in a lot of effort. Once you put in a lot of effort, then you get selected for the interviews. Interviews in again are not different. It's like 3 different stages that you need to focus on. And every stage you need to focus more and more stretch yourself as much as possible. Like there's a word I'll say. When you're an intern, treat yourself as an associate and do the work that might be expected from an associate. When you be an associate, treat yourself as a senior assistant, do the work that might be expected of a senior associate. That's how the trajectory goes in, and that's how beneficial will need to be for you, longer term. So again, at this point of time, be as helpful as you can to your co-intern. This is one factor that I think I don't see enough people doing that. People will be like that. This is my competition. I need to just get down this guy. I just don't want this guy to succeed. This is not going to help you. The best thing that you can do is right now, if they're facing some problems, offer your help. If you're good at it, offer your help as much as possible. So there's nothing better than generating a goodwill. Goodwill among your co-interns is the first step that you're taking towards your professional experience. Because at some point of time, they'll be your peers. So you have a senior co-intern, and say if the next year gets placed in a top tier law firm, and when you were interning with him, you are very having kind of negative attitude towards him. You are not very supportive of him. Do you even expect you to support right now? If you want, but if in case you helped him or supported him while you are interning with him, this might help him create a better impression of you. People say network with you. This is how I'll say there's a story behind this. While I was working for KT Advisors, I worked with the associate over there. The associate was so impressed that she herself recommended that if you want an internship, just let me know. I might help you in that manner. She had some contact. She had some senior over there working in Phoenix level. So that's how I ended up getting a Phoenix level internship. Second story comes in points like when I was entering JSagar Associates, I was working for an associate. The associate was somehow impressed by my work and asked me, why don't you go for competition law practice if you're interested in competition law? I was like, who gives you without a reference or without a jack, you don't get into top tier law firms. I don't have that kind of jack. I don't have that kind of backing. The fact that I was always available for him, be it late nights, be it as much as workouts as possible, just never saying no to work, just making it as giving it a best every time. That somehow impressed him to that extent that he himself offered, just mail your application to me. I'll see what I can do. And trust me, that guy had his elder brother working in SLV partner as senior associate. He helped me secure an internship over there, out of nowhere. It was not expected, obviously. I had never imagined myself to get an internship in HLB without a jack or without a reference. But see how that jack or reference came to be. You obviously need to be from a law background to get a jack. or you need to network someone, you can do that by working even hard. Working hard in your internships can also open up opportunities, not only in that law firm, but also for other law firms. This is something I think every law student should have a broader vision over here. You're not, while you're working better in a law firm, you're just not focusing on the prospects in that particular organization. You're actually making yourself available for other opportunities too. You are actually making yourself available for better opportunities. That particular senior associate, if not possible in that particular law firm, he might recommend you for another practice area in another law firm where his friend might be working. That's exactly how networking works. So merit plus work and hard work and sincerity takes a lot. It takes you much farther than you can imagine now. So that's how it works. Like again, in the soft skill development, I'll say like the thing is that you often see people being very confident. Never be very confident. You don't have any idea what kind of external factor that might be coming into place. So for example, right now there's COVID-19 effect. Aftermarket economy is very low. Economy will take time to recover. You don't have that kind of opportunities coming up. Law firms are already freezing their freezing their hiring for recruitment. So you don't know what might pop up. Well, we're working in a law firm that might be obviously say demotivating factors, like someone with a better backing or someone who knows a partner, they might get recommended to you before you. While you doing a better work over there, might not get recommended. That might obviously come as a setback to you. So that is why you really need to make yourself as much as like what dedicated towards your work. So the moment you become confident or overconfident, you lose track of your work. You become very complacent, and that doesn't help you in the long run. Plus, there is also this thing I feel being an ambivert or being I would say prefer rather call myself an introverted personality. So being an introvert, I always have this thing. I never approach people of my own. I never speak for my own. Like until there's actually needed, there's a very necessity of that. I won't speak. That's how I've been. So there was this my mentor. My mentor is a head from the funds team, Mr. Sancheti. So he said me this thing. I have seen a lot of people like they're not even 60 or 70%, but they pretend themselves they are like around 200 to 300%. At the same time, you seem to be opposite of that. Just make sure that you present yourself as good as you are. So this is something obviously kind of being as humble as possible, being as down to earth, being as modest as possible. This is something going to work. Your attitude also works a lot. Your attitude, like if you have kind of a damn care attitude while you're entering a law firm, trust me, no one will pay your attention. No one will pay you. Just make sure that you're very passionate towards what you're working. Make sure that you're interested in the stuff that you're doing. Make sure that you gel well with the people in your team. You don't need to do, obviously, that can be done obviously by your work. Just need to stress out that I'm not an extrovert person. I might talk on say XYZ matters or discuss with them. No, that won't be a bar for you. That won't be a bar. As long as you're doing good enough work for them, that won't be a bar for you. Because at the end, the only thing they'll be seeing whether you're a good fit for the team or not. And when you're working in a law firm, the only thing that matters how good you are.
So this brings to the third segment, which we call on your fingertips. It is kind of similar to a rapid fire round, sir. So to start with, sir, which is a silly law you would create?
Silly law. I think probably if it is in my hands, I'll probably ask every organization to have a mandatory 2-hour afternoon nap for their employees.
Yeah, that is the need of the hour.
It makes sense for me. At least see, if I get a 20-minute power nap, it allows me to work more. So let's have a mandatory 2-hour afternoon nap, but let allow people to sleep sometimes between those 8 hours working period.
Yeah.
My mother will be very happy to know this if this actually happens.
The next law.
Right.
Yeah, just to tell sir, the one person, which was he? Saurav. He was a fourth year student in NUJS. Yeah, he told that it should be mandatory for all the organizations to serve coffee on each and every floor.
Yeah.
Coffee. Okay, sir. So moving forward, please describe yourself in 3 words.
Well, in that case, I'll say probably ambivert, ambitious, and strategist.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And the next question, I will give you options. Okay. First option is you get a vacation scheme from a Magic Circle law firm in the UK, right, for 1 month. And on the second option is you get a European tour, 15 days, fully sponsored. You get the best suite and your complimentary breakfast, the best of everything. What would you choose?
I think I probably choose the other option, the European one, European tour.
अरे क्या बात है.
Wow.
Yeah, I have a reason for it. I have a reason for it, obviously, because I'm a. See, that might sound very weird to you right now. Sometime, someday in the future, I like to do traveling as a full-time sort of thing. Travel blogging or travel video blogs or something. I regularly go through all those videos of these travel bloggers, video bloggers, mountain trekkers, and all those things. So I have this thing for traveling. So if you give me an option for prepaid European tour, why wouldn't I take it?
Definitely.
Yes, sir. One more thing I would like to ask you: what any two things which are in your bucket list?
My bucket list probably right now. My bucket list probably right now will be in the long term. I have my plans of doing an MBA. So MBA is my bucket list. The second one being traveling as much as possible. Right now, obviously the COVID times. So I have my bucket list of what all destinations I'll be going for. Starting from Bhutan to Singapore, Malaysia, Dubai. I had all my bucket list for each and every year coming up. So that's how traveling bucket list, and the other one being my professional career bucket list.
Wow.
Great. So again, so the next question being, tell us your role model from the legal fraternity.
Okay, see, the one we're flattering over here, I think of all my role model legal fraternity will be Nishith Desai. See, right now I forgot to mention that the fact how you mentioned that it might be very lucky for you to have an interest in Mr. Desai sir or something. See, this is something the firm has a very all-inclusive working culture that you get to have a FaceTime with all of the partners and all those sort of things. So the firm, I had probably this firm, they also have this policy to take each of their interns to their research center that is situated at Alibag, to their own speedboat and things. So Nishith Desai sir himself accompanied us, everyone, each of the interns, so on that trip. And being a kind of visionary person that he has been, like starting with the first funds that you've seen set up in India was by him. Like after the market opened up in India in 1991, he has done a lot of pioneering things in this stuff. The kind of vision that he had about it, plus the kind of approach he has for everyone. Like you won't find any person as big as him treating interns as being so approachable, being so welcoming, can discuss any random stuff with him. I have seen myself that people are discussing interns or discussing X, Y, Z, political plus economic stuff with him, and he was very appreciative of that. He never had this thing of mind, you're just an intern, don't just go overboard with limits, nothing on that. That's the kind of a modest, down to earth being his. Plus, the other thing that I've been always impressed in plus this thing, the structure that how it works in Nishith Desai form. Like you have a 3-stage interview process. The first interview done by your partner of your team. Second will be done by a senior partner from a different team. The third, Nishith Desai himself takes an interview every candidate before they are actually coming on board. Nishith Desai Associates. So all the kind of interaction that I had during those times, it has already been very enriching, very fascinating for me. Obviously, like to see someone as big as him from this close as possible, and being so appreciative and being so welcoming and approaching of your ideas, thoughts, makes me feel like someday I might make him as my role model and mentor.
Great, very well summed up there. And then last question in this segment being, tell us your favorite memory of NUSRL.
Okay. I think I have a lot of few memories that I made. My favorite. The favorite will be like when there were two important things. The first thing that when you went on winning this 8th School of Law Christ University mode, that was the very first time for our college to someone to win a tier mode. Someone to win such a prestigious, as prestigious as Christ Law University, and the kind of reception that you got. The moment you arrived at the airport, Ranchi airport, my seniors are already there with फूल माला ये सब लेके all the garlands and the stuff. They are already like having a photo session in front of this airport. I got a kind of a celebrity welcome over there.
The kind of reception that you got that day, man, seniors are coming down to the airport to receive you, to just with the garlands and flower bouquets and everything else. That sort of felt like we just won a World Cup trophy or something. That's the kind of reception that we got. Second thing will be like it was very in my college. Obviously, I already said it's very difficult to get a tier law placements because in my five batches have been graduated. We hardly find 10 or 12 people who are placed out of law school in top tier law firms. So it made a pretty big deal for everyone out there in my college. So when I came back from my internship, Mr. Desai, wrapping all my interviews over there, so I was given a grand welcome by everyone, like 20 to 30 people, comprising my juniors, my batchmates. They got cakes from me. They had me like again the same thing, the same kind of reception, fool, mala, garland, leke. They'll be like just merry making. This just thought they celebrated as their own kind of success. That's something that I feel was a very satisfying feeling for me, a life-defining moment for me probably in my college. Also, this fact that I don't come from any background, and despite this, I'm making it this far. Somehow gives them that kind of a motivation or inspiration, and that's something they want to celebrate or bask in my success too.
Definitely.
Very well said there. Yeah. 6:30. Yeah. One thing which we look forward to more than everything else is when we win a motor. Yeah, that is my thing. Everybody is coming to Nagpur airport. Wow.
Yeah. Even if you guys also belong from this college, it will really make a big sense when you get a top tier law firm placement or say go on win a boot. The kind of reception that you're getting in your college, that will be unprecedented. Because obviously for us, it's kind of a one-time achievement sort of thing. This doesn't happen regularly for people from low tier NLEs or something. That's all. It might be a regular affair. Yeah, exactly. Obviously, and everyone feels like in this college, the new NLS, what I feel that every other guy feels that if this guy can do, that's such an inspiration for him to drive further. That's such an inspiration. If that guy can do, then I could also put in more efforts and I can also achieve something. If not that, at least something on the similar lines. And that is what they feel like.
Okay, then I guess this was it. This was the end of our episode with Mr. Dibya Prakash Behera, an incoming associate at Nishith Desai Associates, and joining the very unknown but very potential, having a lot of potential, a team of funds, and introducing us to this very new concept of funds in, because I am not sure how many people in our law school must be knowing of it, and also of the fact that there are tier 1 law firms which practice funds. So I guess you, first of all, I would like to thank you for your collaboration. It's very overwhelming for us. Like if you would have denied the offer, it was expected from you. Like itna bada aadmi hai abhi, matlab, like we are only first year students. Definitely. How do I express it? So for a first year law student,
Thank you guys for having such kind of initiative and giving me a platform to express my experience and express my opinions on different aspects. Also, it's a mutually beneficial thing for you and me. It works both ways. Can we say that just because I'm done something, I achieved something that should not actually let me feel like other guys are inferior, they're not that good enough. That is not something that I would ever have that kind of perception. Especially because of the struggle that I already faced, the kind of effort that I already put in, I would never want someone to feel like that. I've always been that kind of approach, helpful as much as I can. So,
thank you.